Okay. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. We're waiting for our guests to join us. So let's wait for her to come on board. Hi, good evening from Nigeria. I hope you can hear me. Yes, so okay, so we're waiting for her to join up. We're waiting for her to join up. Good evening. Okay, so welcome. We're waiting for our guests to join up. So let's give her some time. Yeah, Esther, I could see you. Thank you for joining. Good evening. Okay, wow, she's
Hi.
on.
Hi, Nika.
Hi,
How are
hi,
you?
Hector. We are finally live. We made it.
I know. I'm
Can you
excited.
hear? Yes.
Yeah, you are
Thank
very
you so
glitchy.
much.
Are you able to go
Thank
off?
you.
Hold on. I'm going to type. 1 second.
Yes.
I'm putting in the chat.
Okay. All right.
You're very glitchy.
Oh, it could be network, but I can hear you clearly.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Hopefully this will work.
Yes, I can hear you clearly. So we already have some of our people joining up, and I hope you can see the chats, right?
Has anyone said anything in the chat?
Yeah. No. That's in case if you want to read the chats.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I see Esther. Okay. Esther,
Oh,
Christine. All right, cool. Hi. Very cool.
hi. So this is really great, and I want to say thank you to everyone who is joining up. Thank you to you, especially Heta. So we're going to kickstart immediately. I'm going to introduce you, and then you can
Uh-oh, where did Nika go? Can you guys still see me? You'll have to let me know. Here she comes.
oh,
There
sorry,
we
sorry. So Heather has, and I already sent us her profile, and I'm going to be dropping the profile in the comment section. So she has experience. She's a certified sex therapist. She suffered over 100 years of sexlessness in her marriage, and she conquered. And we are learning 5 mental health inhibitors, issues that block orgasm. Okay, so and of course we have all couples here. So you take us on, and then please have the stage. Thank you.
Yes. Well, thank you, Nika, so much for having me, and welcome to everybody. I see Esther and Christine, Life and Lessons, Wrestling Rematch. Thank you so much. Men and women are welcome here, and so we really appreciate you arriving at what can be a very uncomfortable subject to discuss. So we really appreciate it. I have been a sex therapist for about 10 years, almost 11. And the primary thing that comes up in my coaching sessions with men and women is the lack of orgasm. So the lack of pleasure coming down. So they're enjoying themselves and they like being there and they're in love with their partner, but for some reason, the full orgasm is having a hard time coming down. And so by the time they have come to me, they have tried everything. They've tried couples therapy. They've tried, I mean, you name it. Whatever you can think of, they have tried it. They've worked for hours in the bedroom to try and figure out like what is happening. I understand how my body is supposed to work. We're doing everything that the doctor has told us to do, that the therapist has tried to tell us to do, but for some reason it's not happening. So by the time they get to me, I'm like, okay, so you've gone to the doctor, because that's the first thing. If you are struggling to have pleasure and you're struggling to climax, you're struggling to bring those orgasms down, the very first suggestion that any good doctor should give to you is to first go to seek out medical attention, because you do want to make sure that it's nothing medical in your body that's happening, that's getting in the way. If you found out that nothing is getting in the way medically, then that means you have a mental or emotional block that is getting in the way of you being able to have an orgasm. So that is what we're going to be talking about today. Is I'm going to be coming from the point of you've already discovered that you don't have a medical thing. Okay. So you don't have a medical reason. So now we're going to tackle the most common mental and emotional reasons as to why you're not able to bring an orgasm down. Now, as I share these, if you have any thoughts or questions, I am looking at the chat. So if you want to ask a question on the specific thing that we're talking about, then feel free to do that. And I'll just keep glancing over there to see if you have any questions, or if you want to talk about an experience that you had, you can type that out. So it's going to be like a back and forth type of discussion. Okay. Okay, so before I get into that, do you need to bring up anything else, Nika, or can I just go ahead and go get into it?
Please go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay, sounds good. All right, so the very first mental and emotional block that could get in the way of our pleasure is anxiety. Now, anxiety can come from a lot of different types of situations, and there's also different types of anxiety. There could be performance anxiety. So maybe you're feeling like you want to be perfect. Either you want to give to your spouse, give to your partner the best oral sex, let's say, as an example. And maybe you've watched some movies and you kind of know how to do it or whatever, and so you're going at it. But in your head, you're thinking, oh my gosh, I hope I'm doing this right. I hope they're enjoying themselves. What if they're not enjoying themselves? What if it's not feeling good? So you can just get like, it can get so busy in your head that the whole pleasure experience is just it's just out the window. Okay, so that can be in a giving scenario, and then also it can be on the receiving end. So as a woman, from my perspective as a female, let's say that my husband is giving me oral. Okay, so he's going down on me and it can feel good, but what if I'm in my head thinking to myself, oh my gosh, okay, so I've gotten really close before, but I've never had an orgasm. My husband and I have had talks about, gosh, I wish I could please you. I just want to know that I'm pleasing you. And I feel like I'm not pleasing you because you're not able to have an orgasm. And so as a female, I'm having that pressure, and I really want to show my husband that he is giving me pleasure and he's making me feel good, and I want him to know that he's the one that makes me happy and all of that, right? So all of those thoughts can be in my head while he's down there doing his thing. I'm keeping it to myself. He has no idea the thoughts that are going through my head. I'm putting all this pressure on myself because I just want to, I want to experience pleasure. So then I can, he'll know that he's making me happy in the bedroom, right? So those types of things can come up all the time. And that can just be a pattern. It's like all the time, all the time, all the time. And then you start getting really frustrated with yourself, and then your husband or partner is getting frustrated with you because they can't figure it out. And then sometimes that could lead to not having sex with each other because, man, every time we come together, it's just this big frustration. And why do I want to bring on more frustration every day? So then it could become like, we're not even having fun. So let's not even take our clothes off in front of each other. So I see Vivian. Vivian is saying that she's heard of orgasms, but she's never experienced one. So yeah, this can come up too. Like if let's say that you're single, you meet your husband, you guys are virgins, let's say, and then you both are now married. And so biblically, you should be able to have all the pleasure in the world. I mean, that's what the church has taught us, right? Once you get married, you're going to have all the pleasure, like abundance of pleasure, but nothing's happening. And you're wondering, why? Is my body broken? Why can't I tap into this pleasure that God says is for me, that God says is for Christians? My non-Christian friends, they talk about how much pleasure they have. Shouldn't I, as a Christian, be able to tap into the pleasure that God created our body to experience? So we can get really, really frustrated in that. So I feel you if that's been you, Vivian. Okay, yeah, see, she's been married 11 years. So Vivian, you are the type of woman that comes to me all the time as my personal one-on-one client. So if you're married 11 years and you've never experienced an orgasm, you need to contact me, please, because I don't want you to live life not being able to experience something that God has given to us as a gift. So if that's you, all you guys have to do, and maybe you can put this in the chat, Nika, just go to my website, sexcoachheather.com, and let me know that you are on this live, and I can tell you how working with me would work. Okay. Yeah. I feel bad for her, Nika. I'm like, oh my God, never having an orgasm. Can you imagine? Oh my gosh. That would be, I can't even think of that. So anxiety is the number one thing. Okay. And anxiety can come from the church. It can come from, media showing us, that everyone's supposed to have pleasure, and why am I not having pleasure and stuff like that. So that's the number one thing that can get in the way is performance anxiety, anxiety from stress, anxiety from our jobs, our kids. I mean, maybe we have kids and they are differently abled, and so we have that added stress. And so those types of situations, which come up a lot with parenting, could then get in the way of our bedroom stuff. Okay. All right. So that's the first one. The second block that could be getting in the way of you experiencing pleasure and orgasms is that you have unrealistic expectations. Now, when I was growing up in the church, like I mentioned just a little bit ago, I was told when we were in a youth group, I had a leader that said, listen, girls, you don't need to give your body away too early. You're going to have as much sex, as much pleasure as you possibly want once you get married. My mom was also telling me the same exact thing as a young girl. Don't worry about it. You're going to have tons of pleasure. So in my head, that's what was built up for me. I had an expectation that was built up from my family and from church that once I got married, I was going to experience all the pleasure in the world. But that didn't happen right away for me. And so then, because I had this expectation that wasn't being met, now I'm feeling let down. And I'm feeling like my family and the church lied to me because why isn't it happening for me? So we have unrealistic expectations that can come from so many different places. We can have an expectation of how an orgasm is supposed to work, is supposed to look like, is supposed to feel like. That can come from movies. That can come from porn. If you've ever watched porn and you're looking at how the ladies and men are experiencing their orgasm on the film, but it's not happening in the way that you have seen it on the movie. So now you're thinking that you're broken or that you're not doing it right or something like that. So you can have expectations from porn. You can have expectations from friends, from family, talking to a counselor, even because now if you're talking to other people, they're putting their experience and their perception of what an orgasm should look and feel like and experience onto you. So that advice is coming from their experience, but it's not necessarily yours. And so if you're taking that into the bedroom and you're wondering why it's not happening like your best friend, well, it's because your body is your body and your best friend's body is hers. So it's going to react different. As women, as men, we have individual bodies that were created by our creator. Every single one of us looks and feels different. Every single vagina or pussy or whatever you guys want to call it looks different. No one's vagina looks the same, which means if it doesn't look the same, it's not going to operate the same as somebody else's. So it's really important, whether you're a man or a woman, to get in touch with how your own body works. You need to touch yourself. You need to touch yourself in like a sensual, I'm being fully present in my body. I'm feeling everything. Try and like do different things with your body. You know, you could tickle yourself, like however you want to do it. Like sometimes when I'm like, if I ever get out of touch with my own pleasure, I'll just use like feathers. I'm basically trying to figure out like where on my body feels good when I'm touching myself. Because once I know that, then I can easily tell my husband, I can tell my partner what feels good to me so that they're tapping into that. Because more than likely, if it feels good to me, then that means it'll feel good when someone else does it to me. So it's important that we spend that time getting to know ourselves and not just like today, but our body changes over the years too. I'm 50. Okay. I am in perimenopause. Things are different in my body. So, what worked in my 20s and 30s to bring me pleasure, it changes. It's shifted over the years. So, it's important that you spend time with yourself, as much as you can over the years. And as your body shifts and grows and evolves, that you're then sharing that with your partner. So it's really important to have those types of conversations. Okay, I'm just reading the chat, so let me see. Okay, I see. Is there anything before Darlin? Hold on, let me see. Oh no. So Darlin, my mom told me that too, but as a rebellious child that I thought she was lying. Now I know better. Yep, I know. See, me too. Me too. Thank you for your comments, by the way. Okay, so yes, darling, when I say touch myself, I know that most people in church are anti masturbation, but I am, as a sex therapist, I'm coming at it from a scientific point of view. I do bring God obviously into my work because I'm a born again Christian myself, but I understand how the science of my body works. And I'm not going to know about my body unless I'm touching myself. God, this is my personal thoughts, and I truly believe from all the work that I've done on myself and digging into God's word and working with other Christian sex therapists that God is not against masturbation. I think that it's the church, the people in the church, the leadership that have told us to not do that. I don't think it's biblical. I can't find it anywhere in the Bible, you guys. I've read through the whole thing so many times, specifically looking for things talking about sex. And I don't see anywhere that says self pleasure, masturbation. Like there's nothing like that. So if you go and dig yourself, go and read God's word yourself, see how God speaks to you. I know how God spoke to me, and maybe he'll tell you the same thing like he did me. Maybe for you masturbation is not good. I don't know. Like we all have our own personal relationship with God, so we have to stay in tune with that. But go and dig into God's word and just see, feel inside your spirit if you feel like it's okay to do that. And then, take the time. You can sit in front of the mirror, watch yourself, how you experience pleasure. I mean, it's amazing. It's a really great journey if you open yourself up to it. Okay, so that was the second reason as to why you might be able to not have orgasms is those unrealistic expectations. The third thing that could be getting in the way is how you feel about your body, like your outside body, your self-image, your body image, if you love yourself or not, like if you love your size, how you are, if you love your facial features, your hair, texture, style, your skin color. I mean, everything, like everything you could possibly think of on the outside of your body. If you don't fully love you, as God created you, by the way, was on purpose, right? Just like Psalms 139, we're fearfully and wonderfully made, right? So if you believe that and you believe that that's God's truth, then that's God's truth for you too. So we're doing God a disservice if we're not thanking him and being grateful and loving on ourselves for the creation that he made in us, okay? But a lot of times, if we're not in love with ourselves and we're not bringing that confidence to the bedroom with our spouse, that negativity and insecurity and lack of confidence in ourselves and hate about our body size or whatever it is that we're feeling hate about ourselves, that's being brought to the bedroom. So you're adding extra pressure. You're thinking inside your head, like, okay, so my husband says that he loves me. My wife says that she loves me, but I don't feel that confidence in myself. So I'm not going to believe him or her. They're lying, because if that was true, then I would feel love towards myself. No, it is true. Like what they're complimenting you on, it's true. Now you just have to make it true for you, and you have to learn how to believe that. Let me know in the comments if you have heard of a medical term called body dysmorphia. Let me know if you guys have ever heard that. Dysmorphia is D as in David, Y, S as in Sam, M as in Mary, ORPHIA, body dysmorphia. If you haven't heard of it, a lot of times it comes up with people. Oh, I'm sorry?
I haven't heard of it.
Do you know what it is?
No,
Oh, okay.
no.
Okay. So I'll just give you a story behind it, okay? I used to weigh 235 pounds. I'm 5'3", so I got pretty big. If you go onto my social media, you can see my like before and after pictures. But when I lost weight, Nika, it was so weird because even though I had lost over 100 pounds and I was 130 pounds, I still felt I still felt overweight. I still felt over 200 pounds. When I looked at myself in the mirror, I didn't see a small body. I still saw myself as a big woman. It was so weird. It was like the biggest mental trip ever. It was so weird. So when stuff like that happens, if we've had a weight loss journey, or maybe we were with somebody like a different romantic partner in the past that verbally abused us and made us feel bad about ourselves, like gave us negative compliments like, you're ugly, you're not going to amount to anything, no one will love you like I do, and yet they're like hitting you. This could be your family members too, so not just romantic partners. So any kind of abuse like that, verbally, emotionally, spiritually, like any of that kind of stuff, it could form body dysmorphia, which is how you feel about yourself. Okay, that's basically what it is. So if this is you and you're experiencing that, you will want to dig into yourself, do a lot of inner healing, a lot of self-love work, and a lot of learning how to be grateful for what you look like now, grateful for the body that God gave to you, and start on purpose intentionally living in those better thoughts, those more positive thoughts. And a lot of time when you do work around this, you'll find that those negative things will just fall off of you. And you're going to feel like this big emotional weight is just falling off of you the more that you start to love on yourself. And once you do this internal work, then you're showing up as a freer, more confident person in the bedroom. And you'll also find that that's going to help you to feel safe, content, relaxed in the bedroom, which is going to help those orgasms to come down. Okay. So Darlin says she thinks that she's experiencing body dysmorphia right now. She thinks it's affecting her mental health. Yep, it has affected mine a lot of different times in my life. So just know that you're normal if this is something that you're going through. It's very, very common. It's not like you're broken as a human. This is work that is showing you that you just need to work on yourself to get better. So be encouraged. You can work on it, and those thoughts can go away. So you start to feel better about yourself. All right. The fourth possible thing that block that can be getting in the way of your pleasure and orgasms is PTSD. Now, PTSD, as you guys know, can come up from a lot of different situations, right? If you've been in the military, you could have PTSD from the stuff that you saw in the war. You can have PTSD from any kind of traumas, sexual traumas, physical traumas, church hurt. There's a lot of different things that can come up for you in this way. So with PTSD, again, it's one of those things that you have to understand where it's coming from, and then you can do the work around it to heal yourself. A huge thing that I love to do with my sex clients is, especially if you've ever been sexually abused, okay? So, if you've ever been sexually abused and now you're married and you want to have better sex with your partner in the bedroom, you can create what's called a yes, maybe, no list. So you put this in a column. So you have a yes list for everything that you are open to doing sexually. And then in your maybe list, that is anything that you think you might want to do one day, but you're not really comfortable doing it right now. And then the no list is, I will never in my life ever, 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 ever do those things. Okay. So you're creating this list, you're having your partner create a list, and then you're sharing them together, and then you're talking about it. This is going to help you to feel really, really safe in the bedroom. So you don't have to worry as often about getting triggered from things that have happened to you in the past. So having these conversations about what happened to you in the past, and then going over your yes, maybe, no list, that is going to help you to be really relaxed, because you know now, okay, my partner is not going to touch the back of my head because he knows that that's going to trigger me. So now you're feeling a lot safer, which when you feel safe, you feel relaxed, you're in your body, you're present in your body, and that is going to help to bring the pleasure down. Okay. All right. So the fifth thing that could be getting in the way of your orgasms is depression or anxiety medications. So there are a lot of different types of medications that will literally block your pleasure. It can block your libido too. Like, you might not even be in the mood to have sex, like, ever. You might feel better about life, like you might not be as depressed about life and stuff like that, but then it's actually blocking your pleasure. So if that's you, what you could do is you could go to your doctor and you can let them know that you would like to change around the dosage, possibly try a different type of medication that is not blocking your pleasure. So that is a medical reason that you'll want to go and talk to your doctor about. I do not recommend that you just pull yourself off of your medicine by yourself, because that could then lead you right back into your depression and anxiety. And I don't want that, obviously, to happen to you guys. So make sure that you're working with your doctor on something like that. Okay, the sixth thing that could be getting in the way of your pleasure is if you are carrying around any type of shame or guilt, especially if you have desires and things that get you juicy and turned on that the church might have taught was not biblical or that God wouldn't approve of, but you're feeling it inside. It's in you. This is the thing that gets you turned on. This is part of you. Again, this is another thing that I believe that God put in you that is yours. So we need to learn to own our sexuality and own the things that get us turned on. And then we need to
Oh,
share those with our spouse so that we're not
Heather,
feeling shame.
can I come in? Can you hear me?
Yes, it's a little broken up, but I can hear you.
Okay, so I wanted to add something or maybe ask a question now.
Sure.
I've had to deal with some people who are, masturbation can actually be addictive, especially if you have started it and you get to a point where it seems as not it seems where at the point where it's impossible for you to get pleasure from an external person outside you. So, in as much as in Africa we found out it, okay, and then from what we believe too, we believe that God doesn't want us to do that. But I want us to look at it from the addictive nature, because I've seen people who started out trying masturbation, and then before you know it, they got addicted. That they prefer themselves to their partner, and whatever their partner does to them doesn't seem to come across well to them. I've had to deal with a lot. In fact, I actually have a book on how people can quit masturbation to being free sexually. And what some of them would always point out that he actually started in a harmless way. It appeared as though it was harmless. It appeared as though they were trying to truly explore their body. So what we advise in our community is that um, that process of exploration has to be done with your partner. Though it's a little bit more tedious, but when you are trying to explore yourself, your body, which there's no way you can get to know what you like you said, if you don't explore. So it's this exploration that will, of course, help you to know that if I like circular movement over rectangular movement, I like it soft, I like it hard, I like it like this. All of these things actually help us. But that exploration has to be done by your partner, okay? So that if we are doing orals or we are doing this, I may say, try out this, try out that, try out this, so that in the process of my partner trying things out, I can get to also understand my body. That way, I think we are safer, so that we don't fall into the trap of trying to find out what pleases you, or what. A lot of the truth is that a lot of people in the church are involved in masturbation, and n- not heavy masturbation to the point that they can't get sexual pleasure from their partner. Is that bad that it now becomes an addiction that has to be broken, so that pure marital sexual love can take over? So these are the dynamics to it, that sometimes it's always okay to that's my personal opinion anyway. It's always okay to explore with your partner, and have your partner do the touching, explore your body. That's why if you can spend a lot of time in foreplay before sex, it will help you to really understand your body. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can explore on your own or with your partner. That's completely up to each person how they want to do that. I personally like to explore on my own, and then I like to be able to share with my partner. There have been times when we've explored together, and that's also fun. But sometimes when we're together, if I'm having any of these blocks that are coming up, I'm not going to be able to properly be able to be relaxed and in a state where I'm able to receive what he's trying to put down. So after you heal from these things that we're talking about, that is when you explore with your husband and you'll be able to feel it a lot easier. But this, what I'm talking about today, this is if you've already done that and it's not working. This is when you want to explore on your own, because there's going to be some things that might be getting in the way of that. But yeah, I mean, you on your end, you decide like whatever is best for you. I shared what works for me. Nika shared what works for her, and then the people that are listening, they can decide what works best for them. There's no right or wrong. It's let's just get you an orgasm. Like, I want you to be able to experience pleasure, and I know that God wants you to experience pleasure as well. He created us as sexual beings. So if something's getting in the way of that, then we need to figure out why, right? All
Okay.
right. So the last one that I want to share with you guys is what can get in the way. This is really important too, because if you guys are married and you've ever gotten into a fight and now you're feeling disconnected emotionally from your husband, your spouse, your partner, it's going to be really hard for you to even want to have sex with them, to even want to be intimate with them. And you better believe that even if you do come together, it's going to be a really hard thing for you to be able to bring those orgasms down, because the emotional connection has been broken. So if there's been fights, if they've broken trust with you, from however that looks, it could be cheating, it could be anything. If you have any kind of resentment that has been built up, or bitterness that has been brought up, or through a fight or something, that is going to be getting in the way of you being able to experience pleasure as well. So you're really going to want to be intentional about sitting down with them and figuring out what it is that's coming up for you guys in your marriage, so that you can then work on it, so that you can recreate that emotional bond, so you feel close to them again. So then when you come to the bedroom, there's not going to be anything getting in the way of your pleasure. So I shared 7 with you. I initially spoke to Nika about 5, but when I started to think about it, I'm like, oh my God, there's actually 7 things that can possibly get in the way of your orgasm. So I hope that that helped you, to just give you some knowledge about what could potentially be getting in the way of your pleasure. Now it's up to you on the listener side to be able to work on that yourself. And if for some reason it's not working for you, then of course you can always reach out to me, and I'd be more than happy to work on it with you. So I think we're going to take.
Wow. Yeah, we're going, before we take our questions, I want to thank you for keeping to time. You actually, you gave us 5, you gave us 7 instead of 5 in just within the time frame. Thank you so much. Thank you for always answering when we call on you. You're always there for us. Thank you. And actually, I've learned a lot in the session. I know we have a lot of questions. I have a lot of questions to ask myself, especially from my experiences counseling people, not as a certified sex therapist now, because of course, in our religious background, in our setting, okay, as a relationship coach, I still have people who reach out to me on sexual matters, in as much as I don't have the certification to, but I may contribute. So I would love to bring such questions up so that I can hear from your perspective, and it will help me in my future endeavors. So this is thank you for us. And then thank you to everyone who has stayed on the call. So if you have questions, please kindly ask in the comments, and we will read out your questions and we'll answer your questions first stand. So we have about 18 minutes more to go, right? Okay, so we'll give exclusivity, we'll give the first rights to people who are online before I can ask for other people. So if you have questions as regarding sex now, as regarding orgasm, just this is a sex therapist that we have on the call. So don't actually,
Don't be
yeah, don't
shy.
limit
Don't be shy.
don't limit it to just what was discussed this night. So if there are things that you are having challenges with, okay, please kindly tell us. So when we're waiting, I could bring up some a question here, and then when we get more questions in the chat box, and then we'll respond. Okay, so then a disclaimer to Heather, is in our climb we have a lot of religious dynamics, a lot which we also agree to. Okay, so because of that, we say a very big and a very fat no to anything masturbation, whether as singles, whether as married couples. Okay, so whatever you have to do and your partner is there with you, and you people want to squeeze yourself, squash yourself, however you want to do it, ensure you do it within the confines of your partner being around. Don't go exploring so you don't you don't deviate. That's actually what we hold there, what we there's this friend who got married as a virgin. Okay, I think she has about 2 to 3 children, but sex doesn't happen often. Okay, sex happens probably once in 4 months. I keep asking, and whenever they actually have sex, she takes in, and then they now have the child, and then they still wait, and it's as though that she's a little bit lucky whenever they also she takes in, and then she says that she doesn't have the urge to have sex. Number one, I asked her, What about your spouse? She said sometimes he will ask, and after asking, even if he doesn't want to, he will just relax till whenever he gets it. She's able to get it. So she feels insecure as a woman. She feels she's not doing her responsibility as a woman to her husband, and sometimes too she feels maybe, who knows, maybe he's getting it outside that is making him be okay with me giving him sex. Mommy, can you give advice on what this person can do?
So are you asking how she can crave sex more? Is she wanting to, so she has a low sex drive?
Yeah, she does, and I think she's a very busy woman. She tries to create a timetable for sex. So, like from your perspective as a certified sex therapist, what would this person do to help him or her, to help herself and her marriage?
Okay. So if you have low sex drive, you're going to want to look at your diet. So what you're eating, how much water that you're drinking, how much exercise that you are doing for yourself. And if you're on any medications, like I mentioned earlier, those could make your sex drive go lower. There's also other things like emotional and mental factors that come into play with a low sex drive. Like I mentioned, you guys might not be getting along right now. And so that could make it so that you're not wanting to come together with your partner. So that is what you could do about low sex drive. Um, I will tell you that the more sex that you have, the higher that your sex drive is going to be. So sometimes when we're not in the mood, if we know that scientifically the more sex that we have, the more we're going to crave, there's things that you can do on your end to get yourself in the mood. For me, I love to dance. I love to look at myself in the mirror and just kind of start to groove with myself. That helps me to tap into feeling sexy. And then I feel like I'm ready to show up. I also love to take warm baths, put the candles, the incense, some really nice music. That gets my mind going in the direction of sex. So there's a lot on your end that you can do. You just have to figure out what works for you. What works for me might not work for you. So that's experimentation. There's no right or wrong, way of doing that. Um, I do see Esther in the chat. She says that breastfeeding makes her uninterested in sex. And that is a huge one because we are having our babies and they're like attached to our body. So we feel like someone's always on our body. And we get this thing that's called being touched out. We're being over touched. We're being overstimulated through touch with our babies. And so sometimes that alone is going to make it so that we don't want any more touching. We're like, husband, I've already been touched so much with the kids all day long. Like the last thing that I want is you to touch me. Like, don't take it personal. It's not you. I'm just like, I cannot be touched right now. So I don't know if like that's what you're feeling, Esther, if that's the reason behind it. I know some other ladies, they get really insecure having sex when they're breastfeeding because they get embarrassed that the milk is going to come out during sex and they get embarrassed that it's going to like shoot out on their husband or something. And so then that makes them feel a little more insecure and then they're not wanting to like have that happen and be embarrassed. So then they opt to not have sex. But if you talk to your husband, you might find that he doesn't mind. You might actually find that he enjoys that. It might be one of those things that gets him going. I don't know. Everyone has their own thing that gets them turned on, right? So if you talk to your husband, have those conversations. And then if you feel touched out, ask him to watch the kids for a little bit so that you can go and prepare yourself and like get yourself in a sexy, mood. So hopefully that helps to answer that question. I also see Vivian is saying, Heather, does circumcision have any way of hindering orgasms? So, Vivian, my question to you is, circumcision through your male partner? Are you saying that your male partner is having a hard time having orgasms? So answer that if you don't mind. Or are you asking because his penis feels different inside you and you're wondering if the feeling of it feels different or something, and you're wondering if that could get in the way of having intercourse orgasms when he's inside you? So I'd be curious to see what she has to say about that. um, but that's the only other question I see in the chat right now, Nika.
Okay.
So she's saying herself. So ladies don't get circumcised in Africa, do they, Nika?
Yes, they do. They do. It's called female genital mutilation. It is actually
Oh,
initially in the early 1960s, 70s, 80s, 90s. It
okay.
was an but now we've done a lot of sensitization and campaign to tell parents not to circumcise their female children, and it has gone a lot down. But some people do it as part of their culture, and it's still going on, but remotely and secretly. And you still see people who were circumcised still struggling with it. So there are a lot of female adults out there in Africa who went through female genital mutilation and they are struggling with sex and getting sexual pleasure. Yes,
Wow,
the thing
wow.
here.
That's sad. So can it be reversed?
I've not really studied much on it, but I think it cannot be reversed yet because there's something, I think it's the cutting of the clitoris or something. I don't know how they do it because it's actually very
Hmm.
is unheard of. Okay, so like I said, a lot of people hold on to their culture tenaciously, and they do it as part of the culture. Some people also believe it's a way to make the woman not to be wayward, but that's really cutting out the sexual organ that the woman has. I think it has to do with maybe cutting off a part of the clitoris, something like
Yeah,
that. So
yeah.
it can really be
Hmm.
it can be reversed, but what can be done is that the woman has to, first of all, like you talked about, appreciate where she is. Her partner also has to understand that what this woman has been through, and then find a way to eat appropriately to help her sexual pleasure and anything that she would be able to practice with her partner to help her. But I've not really heard people saying that it was reversed.
Man, that makes me want to cry. Yeah, I'm just reading a part of the clitoris is cut off so it can't be reversed. Okay, so let me just tell you this then, the ladies that are out there, if this has happened to you, there's 23 different ways that you can experience an orgasm on your body. So it doesn't just have to be through the clit. The clitoris is probably the stronger one, the stronger orgasm that you can have, but you can have orgasms through your nipples. You can have orgasms through your vagina. Also, inside your vagina, we have our G spots. So, if you could reach the G spot inside your vagina, you can experience an orgasm, which is very pleasurable. It's a full body orgasm where you actually get like you're shaking, like it's a huge orgasm, very very pleasurable. Um, you can work on finding your G spot yourself, or your husband can help you to find. We all have one. Again, our bodies are all different as women, so it's going to take a little bit of time to find where yours is, because sometimes the G spot is on the left side, sometimes it's on the right, sometimes it's right in the middle, sometimes it's tucked. You have to go down and then up to get to it. So just work on finding it. You know you're going to find it if you feel like you have to go pee during sex.
Yeah,
That's
okay,
how you
the G
know. I'm sorry.
is not
You're so glitchy,
at
Nika. I
the
can't hear you.
same position.
Nika, you sound like a robot to me. I can't hear anything.
Please, can you throw more light on how we
I just typed in okay. I just typed in the chat that she's very glitchy. Um So let me know, does that help, ladies, that you can work on finding different ways to find pleasure? Let me know if that works, because you don't have to just rely on your clitoris. I do have on my website, you can find 23 different ways a female can orgasm. So that's a PDF guide that I created if you guys want to find that. Or you can message me and ask me for that and I can send it to you. So that way you can make sure that you're tapping into all the different pleasure points so that even if you have had your clitoris removed or part of it removed, then you can still tap into pleasure. Hopefully we'll get Nika back. Let me know if you guys have any other questions in the chat. Looks like we have like 3 minutes maybe. I'm asking Nika what happened on her end. Does anybody else have any questions? We have a couple minutes left. Here comes Nika.
Heather, can you hear me now?
Yes.
I'm so sorry. It's actually network glitches over here. So you were talking about the G spots being on the left or on the right
Or in the
or
middle.
below or the middle. So I was just asking you to throw more light on how we can easily find it.
Yeah. The best way you can find it, I'll show you to the side, okay? So these are your fingers. You're going to stick them in you or have your partner stick them in you. And when you go in, you're going to go like this, okay? So you go in and you kind of feel around, you go to each side, and you're looking for a very spongy feeling, like it's not called skin, but it kind of feels like spongy material inside you. And you're gonna know, like when you go like this, it's like they come hither, like come here. So you just do that. You can do it with one finger, two fingers, however many you want to, however many you can fit in there. And then you're gonna know that you hit it if you feel like you have to go pee. Now, as long as you've emptied your bladder before you had sex, you're not going to actually pee. It's just a sensation. And the more that you like feel on it, that sensation of pee is going to go away. And then the pleasure will come right after that.
Okay, thank you. Do we
Oh,
have any
and
other questions?
yeah, Georgine, yes, you can have multiple orgasms. You just have to be patient and talk with your partner and let them know, like, I don't want to be done at one. I want to like keep laying here and see how many I can have. I've my top one is 7 so far, which is amazing, but that takes a lot of time because you have to have like some cool down and some break in between, maybe get a little bit of water, stuff like that. And then you can go back and start playing again. Esther, my website is sexcoachheather.com. Tim, can you type it in the chat if you don't mind? That's your husband's name, right? Tim or Tim's?
Yes,
Uh,
yes, he's doing that.
yeah, if you can type my website in the chat, that'd be awesome.
Sex coach
Heather.com.
Okay, sexcoachheather.com.
Uh-huh. And then you guys are more than welcome to get in touch with me. I can give you the 23 different ways that you can orgasm as a female. I also work with men. So if there's any men that are watching and you guys are struggling to orgasm, or if you want to experience multiple orgasms, males are able to do that as well. It's not just females. So I do work with males as well. And then if you guys are wanting to figure out how to orgasm together, where you're actually like orgasming at the same time, that's also something that I can work on with you guys. So yeah, whatever you need, I am here for you guys.
Thank you. Could you introduce your book? The last time you talked about the book you wrote.
Here's my book. So this is If You Are Sexless. If you're not if you're not having sex as many times as you want with your husband, this is the book that I wrote. It talks all about how to bring sex back into your marriage, and it is available on Amazon. So can you guys buy products in Amazon from Africa?
Yes, we can access Amazon from Africa.
Okay, cool. So you would go to Amazon and then type your country and then type in Why Doesn't My Husband Want Me by Heather Tucker. And then it'll come up for you guys.
Wow. Okay. So guys, what do we say to Heather? Please, I want to thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. It has been a beautiful conversation. If you didn't start with us from the beginning, you may need to go through because she shared 7 amazing inhibitors, mental health inhibitors that block us from orgasm. She also told us that if you've not reached orgasm, you need to check if it's a medical issue. If it's not a medical issue, you know it's probably mental health or your emotional health. And she talked about 7, and she is a mom. I respect her a lot. She's a grandmom, and she is a certified sex therapist, and you can find her on Facebook with her name, Heather Talker. Heather Talker. Okay, Uncle Tim, please type Heather Talker in the chat box so that people can get to see it. I also posted her profile on our WhatsApp chat so that you can get to see her and connect with her. So you can also find her book on Amazon, like she told us, and you can reach out to her via her website. She actually knows what she's doing, and from what the conversations tonight, you will see that she'll be able to help us. So thank you guys for joining in. It's a wrap for us, and today is my birthday. Can someone please wish me a happy birthday?
Happy birthday.
Thank you so much. I've had a blast. Uncle Timothy has done me well today, and I am so excited.
Go eat some cake.
Yeah, I'm going to email you your own cake. I hope you have Bluetooth to receive your own. Okay. Thank you, Heather. Thank you so much. And guys, I want you to follow. She does a lot of dancing, gives out a lot of free tips on sex, especially on Facebook. I watch her a lot. So you can follow her on Facebook at Heather Talker. Okay, so that you can get all of those free tips. So the conversation will continue in our WhatsApp group so that where we can dissect everything that we have learned, and then we can ask questions and then see you guys. Thank you, Heather. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for being
Thank
here. It
you.
was so nice to meet everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.